Holy moly, Royal Caribbean announced their earnings yesterday, or lack of earnings yesterday, and man, they were big losers in 2020. Plus, there's a brand new travel ban, which may actually be a good thing for cruising. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the Cruise News Show. I'm your host Tony, here with the latest cruise news updates. It is Tuesday, February the 23rd, 2021. And before we get deep into the cruise news, I got 5 stories. I dare you to stick around. I just gotta say thank you. Yesterday was my anniversary with the lovely Jenny B, and you guys helped us celebrate it in style by pushing us over the 70,000 subscriber mark here on YouTube. This virtual community continues to grow and grow. A big welcome to all of the new subscribers and a lot of love to all you people that are here watching on a daily basis. Virtual hug. Let's not make it weird, but I'm glad you guys are here taking in the cruise news. Well, first, the story I'm really most excited about, I'm going to put it right at the front. There is a new travel ban that may be a positive thing for cruising. Yesterday in the UK, they announced new travel restrictions restricting international travel until May the 17th, 2021. You may be saying, well, new travel restriction, that sounds bad. How is this good for cruising? You may remember the FCO, kind of like the CDC in the UK, they released a carte blanche, no cruising. Don't go cruising with no end date in sight. And so it kind of shut down all the conversation on cruising. If you go over to the FCO site, they say very specifically now, not even mentioning cruising, under current UK COVID-19 restrictions, you must stay at home. You must not travel, including abroad, unless you have a legally permitted reason to do so. It is illegal to travel abroad for holidays and other leisure purposes. That's the hard stance that the FCO is taking, but now they will reevaluate that stance in early April and decide whether or not travel can happen starting May the 17th internationally. I do believe that would include cruises. So a lemonade out of lemon story, at least in my eyes. We go from no end date in sight for the resuming of cruising in the UK to possibly May the 17th. And you know why we want positive news for UK cruising? Because P&O has that sweet new cruise ship over there called the Iona. She's just ready to take on passengers, ready to take on UK cruisers for an experience of a lifetime. Look, I've never been on P&O. I know people who have. They say it's wonderful. I'm just trying to segue into my next story. We mentioned it last week that P&O had named the sister ship of the Iona. They named it the Arvia. From the seashore is what it means. The Arvia, a big moment in the Arvia's history just occurred. They cut the steel on the Arvia. There's a whole cadence and a nuance to shipbuilding. It's wrought with tradition. And one of those traditional things that signifies the beginning of a new ship being built is the steel cutting. So the steel has been cut for the Arvia. They will now begin the process of building the sister ship to the Iona. She's supposed to come into play in 2022. But if you want a taste of what the Arvia is going to be like and you're in the UK or you can travel to the UK sometime this year, you could get on the Iona. I would like to be on the Iona. That looks pretty cool to me. Now, don't forget, we got the big story about Royal Caribbean's loss coming up to close out the show, but I wanted to hit some of the lighter notes before we get to more of the serious notes. This next story definitely put a smile on my face. It definitely made me think about cruising days of old. Excitingly, last week I told you that the Star Wars Days at Sea were coming back, the Marvel Days at Sea were coming back for Disney, but there is another classic theme cruise that have scheduled their next adventure for 2022. I'm talking about the Golden Girls cruise. What I think is funny is sometimes you see the older generation. Do you guys know what cosplayers are? I'm a nerd. Cosplay is where you dress up like Batman. Let's put it like that. You go to a convention, you dress up like Batman. Do you know Batman, or you dress up like Princess Leia? All right, I think people understand that. And sometimes you see the older generation going, why are these people dressing up like The Golden Girls cruise, and I'm sure young people take part in it, but it's like cosplay for old people who want to dress up like old women. I like it. And it's a good time. It's for fans of the Golden Girls, but I would say it would even be fun for people that aren't fans of the Golden Girls. They announced their next theme cruise in 2022. Let me give you the details, so I'm just not rambling on. I don't know all the people's names on the Golden Girls. I just remember the lady that played Maude was on that show. Who's your favorite Golden Girls person? While I'm looking up the details, hold on. Here's the deets. The Golden Girls fan theme cruise will sail on the Celebrity Apex on January the 3rd, 2022. Departing from Fort Lauderdale, they will be doing a Bahamas itinerary, 5 nights, which includes Nassau. There are spots for about 1,000 Golden Girls enthusiasts, and it costs about $1,200 to even get in the door on an inside cabin. So theme cruises, usually a little more expensive than just regular cruising. So yeah, get yourself a white wig and some shoulder pads and go on the Golden Girls theme. Is that your bag? Would you do that? I don't know. I'd like to see it. I don't know if I'd do it, but I'd like to see it. But interesting. Okay, so let's transition from cosplaying as a Golden Girl to stepping in the ring on a cruise ship. Would you have ever thought of a sanctioned boxing match on a cruise ship? Would you ever have thought as a cruise ship as a venue for boxing like Las Vegas or Atlantic City, something like that? Well, they're considering it in India. In the booming new cruise market of India, there's a fight a-brewing. Bronze medalist from the 2008 Beijing Olympics, Vijender Singh, is ready to fight. Often it's overlooked. Performers, athletes, they've struggled to be able to do the thing that they do in the lockdown. Now, you've seen some major sporting associations able to get their athletes back at it, but think about it. Broadway performers, stand-up comedians, boxers, you know, low-level boxers, they don't have anywhere to box, and they're pulling out all the stops in India. Vijender Singh waiting a year to box somebody, and they've even been in talks with cruise ships. Now, the article I'm looking at doesn't mention which cruise lines, but again, cruising in India is a booming market, is something that there's been investment in. You see some of the older ships that have been sold off by the major cruise companies going to the Indian market, and the story just piqued my interest. Boxing on a cruise ship. How would that even work? I mean, does that have to only happen when the ship is docked? Could you imagine being at sea, trying to get the footwork going on? I would watch it. That would be interesting. I'm not really big into seeing people beat on each other. I'm a lover, not a fighter. But I would probably watch boxing at sea, but it just piques my interest. What other interesting thing could they have at sea? I never thought boxing would be a good one. All right, let's transition from the jovial to the more serious. And during that transition, let me sneak in a quick invitation to subscribe to this YouTube channel, over 70,000 strong. Thanks again. Please consider subscribing, being a part of this virtual cruising community. Hit the subscribe button with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. Thank you in advance. All right, 2 more stories. Carnival story, Royal Caribbean story, and it's all about money, okay? Carnival still needs more money. All the cruise lines, they still need more money, and Carnival is pulling another lever to put more cash in their coffers to shore up the war chest as we're waiting to go back to cruising. Carnival announcing a sale of stock, new stock, to generate $1 billion in cash for the company to use to continue to operate. It's not a bad time to do it. Carnival stock has been climbing. It closed out at $25.97 yesterday, I believe. Some people speculate that it's on the positive words offered forth by CEO Arnold Donald. I covered that in yesterday's show. I will leave a link to that above. Make sure you check that out. And so good words by Arnold. Did it drive the stock price up? Royal stocks, a lot of stocks are going up. That's an interesting conversation. But yes, striking while the iron is hot, seeing the high stock price. Now, I think if you're going to offer stock, you can't just like flip a switch one day and offer it. So this has been in the works, but they will be selling enough stock to raise $1 billion as they continue to go go forward, because if you don't know it, the cruise companies are losing money hand over fist. And that was no more evident than in the Royal Caribbean Q4 earnings call that happened yesterday. Now, if you're unfamiliar with an earnings call, this is what happens for publicly traded companies. Leaders on the company, they host a teleconference where all these analysts are there, and they basically describe what's going on from an accounting perspective, from an operational perspective, and then the analysts get to ask questions. It is fascinating. There are a lot of nuggets in the transcript of that earnings call. I'm still reading through it. I'm going to do a deeper dive on that whole phone call and pull out some interesting things about how Royal is interacting with the CDC, for example. That will be on a future show. But let me just pull up the big nugget for this show, the big oh my gosh moment. In reporting out their finances, Jason Liberty, who is the Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, the CFO, he said this morning we reported an adjusted net loss of $1.1 billion for the fourth quarter. That's 90 days, people. $1.4 billion for the fourth quarter of 2020 and a $3.9 billion loss for the full year. Due to the suspension of our global operations, we were able only to operate 20% of the revenue cruises initially expected in our February 2020 guidance. This simple stat reflects the staggering impact that the pandemic brought to our company and the whole industry during 2020. It's not an unfamiliar story. Businesses all over saying we did a lot less business because of the pandemic. Royal Caribbean quantifying it, they only did 20% of the business they normally do, and losing out on that 80% of the business meant a $3.9 billion loss. I don't think anybody is surprised by that. Again, other interesting nuggets in here around pricing, around the CDC. I'm going to do a deeper dive into it. That's your cruise news today. That's your cue to sound off in the comments, to hit the like button, and to consider this. Is smuggling alcohol onto the cruise ship, is that stealing? Man, I covered it. It was an interesting conversation, especially for the new folks. Check out this video. Tony for Lido Loca. Until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.